Welcome back. Well, stable for the market, so no complaints coming in there. Let's get talking to another company from the broader markets which did release its numbers a couple of days ago. We have Himanshu Baid, who's the MD at Medicure, who joins in to discuss their performance. Mr. Baid, thank you very much for taking the time out. Well, you do have your investor call this evening at 4 p.m, so we don't have those takeaways with us. So we want more data in terms of how exactly the performance was for you this quarter. Revenue growth was up around 19% this time round. Can you start by breaking up what exactly the domestic business did as well as the exports?
So thank you very much. So export grew by around 23% and domestic grew by around 17%. So that was the breakup of the revenue between the two businesses. And if you see overall 9 months, we have done a growth of around 23%. So that was as per the guidance we had given in the beginning of the year. We had changed some guidance after Q1 numbers because we could see a more upswing in the export revenues. And I think that's where we are.
So what does that mean for your full year guidance? Because you did, like you mentioned, you did change, you revised your guidance upwards. But what are you closing the year with? Are you probably even more optimistic at this point in terms of an exit run rate for FY24, both in terms of revenue as well as margins? I think your revenue, you were estimating 20 to 22% growth. 9 months, you've done 23%. Margins, 25 to 27% is what you've guided. You did around 26%. Where does that stand? Are you probably looking to stick to it, change it?
I think we are going to stick to that number, be very close to that number. I think the most important thing right now is the disruption which is happening in supply chain globally. And I think that Red Sea crisis is kind of delaying shipments out of India to our core customers in Europe and in Americas and that Middle Eastern market. So I think that is a little bit of worrisome, but I think overall we should be in the range which we have guided initially.
So margins at 25 to 27% and revenue at 22 to 24%, right? Okay. I just wanted to know your thoughts on two things. One, you said that from October 1, non-regulated exports from China reduced, and this is with regards to your renal business. So now you have had 1 full quarter of no, pressure coming in from China. How has that business panned out, and what is the likely scaling of or scalability of this business from here?
So in Q3, we have grown the renal business by around 28%. And I think as time progresses, we will see more and more increase. For FY25, we think we should be able to grow this business by between 40 to 50% now. Because with more regulation kicking in, I think this business will also stabilize for us. And we are more optimistic in next couple of financial years.
On an absolute basis, what would this number look like, both renal and dialysis business?
So it's a combined business, so it's one and the same. So I think in absolute numbers, we should hit around 90 crores this year. And I think going forward next year, between 140 to 150 crores.
Okay, 90 crores. What about your critical care business? When are you launching that?
So critical business care, we have already done a soft launch for that business the last quarter. And our cardiology business we're launching this quarter. So again, we are doing a soft launch, and I think we'll go for more aggressive launch maybe in the next financial year.
Did you make any money from the critical care business this quarter?
Well, we don't track like that because it's a very small business just to start. So I think as time progresses, because again, critical care products will have more margin as we go forward. So I think that will kick in more in the next financial year.
The US, you did indicate that, supplies have started. Did it contribute to sales this quarter?
So the sales are probably very less right now, but I think it's a build-up phase. We've got also received 2 new approvals also, 2 new FDA approvals, and it's just a build-up phase. So we are, I think hopefully next financial year, we'll see more higher revenues coming in, and there are a lot of products under pipeline right now under FDA approvals. So it's just a build-up phase. We've just started. So it's not going to kick in immediately, but we are in a build-up phase.
So, but we've spoken about the US business multiple times now, Mr. Baid, and it's always been in this gestation phase where there are approvals, we're in that build-up phase. When can we start seeing numbers come through when it comes to the US?
See, we initially, if you remember, we had said 3-4 years, we're going to build a $15-20 million business. And I think we are pretty much on track because it takes a couple of years for approvals first. And we only started in 21 to start applying for FDA approvals. We got approvals only last year, September, October, and that's how we started building it up. So we already have contracts in place, the customers are in place, and the product pipeline is already ready. New manufacturing lines were set up for the US business. So everything is on track to deliver that growth and that number.
So strategically speaking, what's your US target? I mean, what proportion of your revenue should you get from the US, say 3 to 4 years from now? And even the critical care that Ekta was talking about, right? What is your revenue target here? At what scale do you start making money?
The critical care business, I think we'll start making money immediately because this is an extension of our infusion vascular business. So I don't think we'll have any gestation period there. See, in medical technology, it's not that you start getting business on day one. You need approvals from every hospital, every clinic, every doctor. So it's a slow process. And once you get the process right, then the demand starts kicking in. So we are in that phase of building the demand and setting up the lines for ramping up the capacities. So we are in that phase, but everything is kicked in already. The expenses have kicked in already. The hiring has already been done. People are in place. So everything is part of the current P&L. And we continue to do better and better. We'll continue to do better and better only.
Can you just guide us on what the growth rate would look like for both of your markets, domestic as well as export? Because your export grew faster than domestic. Are you expecting that kind of trajectory to continue going into Q4 as well as maybe FY25? And why is that?
So, so I think in Q4, we expect a similar growth rate of 23% and 17-18%. But I think next year, as new businesses kick in, our critical care and our cardiology business, and renal will show a more remarkable increase. So then we see domestic business also growing upwards of 20% in the next financial year.
All right. Thank you so much.
Export should do a similar number, maybe 20-22%.
Okay, so not only have you given us the guidance for this year, you've also given us a bit of an aspirational target for the next year where your overall business grows between 20-21%, given that exports grows at 20 and domestic between 21 and 22% itself. Himanshu, thank you so much. Always a pleasure speaking with you. With that, we'll take a short break, come back, focus on the markets. Markets are off the highs now. The Nifty closing in on breaking below that 21,900 mark too. And that weakness is led entirely largely by the Nifty Bank, which is now sitting with a gain of just about 250 points. Take a break, come back.